Best country in the world. All right, we're at the Ross County Heritage Center, and we're going to go in and look at the museum. So come along.
Oh, then. What?
The Logan Automobile.
Are you folks here because of Tecumseh? Oh wow, you should go to Tecumseh if you get a
We
chance.
did. We went.
You went?
We went a couple years now. 3 or 4 times maybe.
That's awesome because it's really fun. You look back then.
No, me too. See, it's going. The train is running. Train is running. Yep.
The whole family died. Whoever bought the place donated their stones. They were buried on their land. And then they donated these to us, and then they reburied them. They dug them up and reburied them up on.
Well, let me get our.
And he's the founder.
He is the founder. He was the first surveyor here. He's the one that got Chillicothe started. We don't have air conditioning in the house at all, so we try to use the little window conditioners.
And what year was this house built?
1838.
1838.
Yes, and this is all room that found around here. These are a pair of scissors, and then this is a switchblade razor. That was because we never paid the Revolutionary War soldiers in money. They were paid in land. They didn't have the money, so land is what they got. Here, this is the center of Chillicothe. This is the original part of Chillicothe. This is Paint Street. You are right here.
Oh, okay.
55, right here. Number 55. So, yeah.
So this is surveying.
That looks like a bronze.
Bronze or brass? I'd say probably brass.
Okay.
Very neat.
Madison do the surveying,
Okay.
and then they decided that the land here was being governed. All of the, that meant power for him. So these guys over here,
Yeah.
they were.
So Chillicothe in 1803.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. That little house back there was Worthington's house, and his wife, whenever he would go to Washington, she would crawl up on that Indian mound there and read her stories and write letters and stuff. This house right here was Nathaniel Massey's house. He was, like I said, the original surveyor here.
Okay.
This is the first Capitol back here. That's the jail, but it's actually supposed to be in behind, and maybe it is kind of in behind because I think that little side building's poking out right there. That is actually the back. So this is the Scioto River. Came right up along Water Street. This is Paint Street. Have you guys been on Paint Street yet?
I think we turned down Paint Street to get here, I think, right?
We had to go around because you can't get to us from Paint Street.
Yeah.
Because we're a one-way street.
Okay.
So did you come like down the...
We were
by
at
the-
TJ Maxx first, then we come this way, I think.
Okay, so
yeah.
you came maybe this side. Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are their 1 acre lots. If you look at them, they're really big. The houses are really big. The buildings are pretty good size. They were able to grow their own vegetables and stuff
Right
and
in the
their
middle.
own Paint Street. And so they tore this all down and filled that back in, and then this is Paint Street. And they did find artifacts and stuff in there.
Okay.
Thomas Worthington, he was, he wanted to be a sailor. He wanted to be out on the ships and the boats and stuff. And he did that for just a little while, and he decided it wasn't for him. He would get seasick and homesick and stuff, so he would come back home. And this was his original chest.
And that's his sea chest, right? Yeah, all right.
Oh, it opens.
Very nice.
In the back of their wagons or a stagecoach or however they brought it to us. They would have, these would be up with great big locks in them.
How
And
heavy
then,
though.
yeah, it's really super heavy too. And then they would their thinking was if somebody was to steal this, by the time they could get it open, hopefully they would be found and they could get it back. The only way to really get it open is there was a little key place right here. It's the only place a key would even fit.
Okay.
So they were in hopes that they...
That's so cool.
Yeah. I'm thinking, okay, I'm smart enough. I know there's got to be something there. But there were some people here yesterday that thought it was like maybe something had happened to it and it had been fixed.
Right, yeah.
That on there?
Yeah.
Nathaniel Massey had pneumonia, and Mr. Edward Tiffin decided to bloodlet him, and he ended up dying from the same thing.
So George Washington died in this manner as well.
As well, probably using that same very little kind of box.
Wow.
We had farmers, we had people that worked in the fields, we had iron workers, hat makers, brick makers. There's one from 1812. Tin makers, copper makers, all kinds, furniture makers. So they had businesses. That's for putting a candle in.
Yeah.
And then they'd hang it up someplace so that they could see.
We've seen it in a store last one. This
Yes.
is a real one.
This is a real one, yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's so pretty, isn't
It
it?
is.
Buckets next to their fireplace. This is not the original. This is just a replica of what sat on top of the first Capitol.
Okay.
The original is in the library just down the street here.
Is that eagle or something else?
A falcon, I believe.
Okay.
Someone
Yeah.
assumed the buckets were to have water in case the fireplace would catch.
Yes, if
something
it
on
would
fire,
spit
right?
out, pop out some
Yeah.
wood or coals or whatever they were using, they would have it there because, you know, they didn't have a fire engine or
If
anything
I'm not
like
mistaken, people around would bring their buckets if there
Yes.
was a fire. Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
absolutely. She loved the Victorian style, and so she ended up bringing in the pier mirrors because, of course, they didn't have lights. They had candles for lights, which didn't cause a lot of light. So she brought in the pier mirrors to help bring in light. Now, added for our transportation room and our office out there, we added all of that. Got his wealth through making canal boats down in Waverly. Well, once he started making the canal boats, he decided that, you know, I could make more money if I import and outport things on the canal boats that I make.
Right.
So that's what he did, and he became one of the most wealthy people around our area. After the Civil War, him and his family decided they wanted to take a grand tour of Europe. So they went to Europe, they were in Italy, and as they was walking down the streets of Italy, they saw this desk out on the sidewalk. And here that what was going on was they like a little viewfinder type thing.
You already can tell really well.
Yeah, try looking in there though. I can hold it still.
Oh, well.
Does it bring it all together?
Yeah, you can see very well.
Yeah, it kind of brings it all together. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
What about
The scope.
Okay.
There's only 2 in the world that work.
Oh,
We
wow.
have one, and there is one in the Kodak company in New York.
Yeah.
And this works? This one here
Yes,
works? Really?
absolutely
Wow.
works. Somebody has drawn this on there, and then they go around and they poke holes in it so light will shine through it. On the back side, so you don't see no people on the front side. On the back side, they draw in the figures and stuff and the darkness so that when light hits it from this side, or from this side, it shows the people in it.
Projects it up
Okay.
there.
So if you want to look in there, this is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This came from Italy. It was made by
my.
Charles Pompey in 1862. The other things that made this room Victorian was
Yeah, you
the
can
fireplaces.
Oh my
Are
goodness.
you able to get it? Oh my goodness. They are not wood burning fireplaces, and what makes the difference is a wood burning fireplace has a very large opening, where a coal burning fireplace has a very small opening. Now this is the way it would look like in the summertime when they're not using it. In the wintertime they would take that panel off of there, set it aside, and have a screen in there so that the coals or the wouldn't pop out and burn anything.
So there would be a screen.
There would
so
be,
that-
yeah.
That is
Now,
marvel.
when you go into the Adena Mansion, if you guys get a chance to go up there, you're going to see, and it belonged to Duncan MacArthur, the guy that you saw in there, the big guy, where the big long gun was.
Yeah.
This belonged to him. It was made by the Ware family, who also made caskets. They were in the funeral business. And this was kind of just a side job for him. So the chair, the round table, and then this oval table that's over here where the music box is.
And this is called a settee?
Settee, yeah.
Interesting.
It's made, you can tell it's made for women because it has no arms on it. That way they could kind of sit sideways and their dresses would fit in there.
Ain't that something? It almost reminds me of the chair for the guys that have the tails of their
And
coats.
the guys have the tall, long backs.
Yeah.
They were attached with material. This material that you see with the green on it, that's what was on that. Once they took it off, we had to send it in and get it aged. And then, of course, we sent some to like the Smithsonian and Columbus and different
Those are
places.
gauges for your ear.
Here.
Yeah. Now, a lot of
They
people would get to come in and they would got to do that.
Oh,
So
okay.
each of them was given a flint stone like that and got to put their own holes in it, and then we made
How long
necklaces.
does that take it?
Doesn't take very long.
Really?
So they
No.
would drill holes
Yeah,
with
it really
this
did not
right
take
here.
very long at all. Maybe about, I'm saying maybe 30 minutes to get for them. It shows you how they used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, making the holes in some of these, some of the things that they did, it had to take a long time. And they used every little piece, anything that they got, they used it for something.
Oh.
Like they used little tiny bones for fish hooks,
Uh-huh.
jewelry, all kinds of things.
Oh, so neat. It's animal, right?
Those are all animal,
Okay.
yeah. They're 10,000 years old, 14,000 to 10,000 years old. Just these right here. So that's the Paleo age. The Archaic age was next. They're anywhere from 10,000 to 3,000, and that's all of these down here. They came from around the Ross County area. All of this stuff here did not. These came here, but were found here, but came here from the Native Americans. They may even take a big stone like this one right here, that one right there,
Okay.
and then as it shows in the picture, break off a chunk of it and then use the smaller pieces of it to make their smaller stones, their smaller arrowheads and stuff. Of course, I don't know why, but it does. It was found around 1910 on the Worthington farm where Adina is today. And a little boy, about 12 years old, was plowing the fields with a one-horse plow, and he dug it up. So it stayed in the family for years and years and years. And then after the family was all gone, they auctioned everything off that was in that place, and it went up for sale. The Smithsonian found out about it, and they came down to bid on it. The McKell house is right next to us. It's where our library and stuff is, and all the main offices and stuff are. And Mrs. McKell, she bid on it too, and she actually won. She only paid $1,700 for it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a big newspaper article.
This is the Ross County Hall of Fame.
All kinds of sculpting, big giant pieces and stuff. And she was also an author. She was kind of like a nurse during the World War I, when the soldiers were coming back and so many of them were destroyed in the face and stuff. They asked her if she could come up with something to help disguise the injuries on their face. So she was working with the rubber companies up in Akron, and they came up with prosthetics for their faces and stuff that they could use.
And her name's May Elizabeth Cook.
May Elizabeth Cook, yeah, and right around the corner. Thundercloud kind of
Yeah.
broke his feather.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of the sculptures she did.
And that's a thundercloud.
And draw pictures on the steps and on the sidewalk, and people just loved his work. So as he got older and became an adult, he went to work for the Columbus Dispatch.
And that's Billy Arlen.
And they say half of those guys never made it back home because they were killed in action. The way they got drafted, this is the draft will. They would put numbers in there. They would give every man in town or country a number, and then when they pulled it out of there, if they called your number, you had to go to war. They said that they could trade them, or you know, they could get rid of them if they wanted to somebody that wanted them, or sell them or something if they wanted to. But nobody, you know, I can't imagine anybody want to do it. But it was a different time back then too.
So this is the actual draft wheel.
This is the actual draft wheel.
And this is for the Civil War.
Civil War. Yep. And in the inside of that drum there is all. It was handwritten every place that they went to.
Oh my.
Yeah. That's an actual drum for the Civil War.
Oh my gosh.
An actual drum for the Civil War.
Crawled on his belly out on the field and saved this gentleman right here. Brought him back. He actually ended up dying of his wounds, but he ended up with getting the Medal of Honor for saving him. And then when he came back to Chillicothe, he opened up a few businesses.
And it would be his great-grandfather,
yeah.
Richard Nixon. Yeah. And this is World War I.
We had a lady from California come here, and then there's a picture of her over here, which was an older lady in a newspaper. The lady was so excited about seeing her grandmother's stuff up here.
So she came from California?
Yeah, she lives in California.
Yeah.
She came from California to
This
see
is
it.
her grandmother's stuff.
And he bent down and gave her that corsage. She thought that was just the coolest thing, so she framed the corsage. And that's the original corsage that it was. Of course, he went on to get married to somebody else and have children himself until they put the canal in. And then when they put the canal in, the canal came up here like this. So it used to be a side of the river. They blocked all this off. It used to come up this way and go around this way.
Okay.
Now this is the canal. So when we get to the canal room, it'll make more sense to you when I tell you.
Puzzling and challenging toys. The detail is amazing.
Yeah. And the blocks, I like the blocks. I remember as a little girl I had a set of blocks similar to these. You flip them over and it makes a different picture.
So if you just move one piece, it will still...
It wouldn't look right.
Yeah.
You'd have to flip them up. Now, there's one down there on the end. It shows when you flip those,
Okay.
see, it would make it different too.
Okay,
Like you could
yeah.
change the people. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, this is very
Love
pretty.
those.
It's amazing. This is the Noah's Ark.
Is the one in the blue dress that's standing back there by that little dresser there. And she was made in 1860. And then the other doll next to her on this side, she was 1880, and she has human hair.
Oh gosh.
Oh my. Human hair.
Yeah.
Those are cute dolls. Little pink striped suit right there. He's a
Oh,
boy.
that's a boy.
Uh-huh. And then we have,
I like
of course,
the
the
boy.
sailor guy up there with his little dog.
Pretty creepy.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do you really? You like
I
this?
like a horror movie.
This is toys that go.
The horse has actually got real horse hair in it.
This one here?
Uh-huh. He's in pretty rough shape, but, you know, he was probably from the late 17 or early 1800s.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Brothers, my younger brothers, who were much younger than me, used to like going back there and do. But the rest of them all are actual pictures of the canals and stuff around here. And remember I told you the Scioto, they made it so that we had the canal. The canal started down through here, and then this is Chillicothe right here, and then it went on down to Portsmouth, where you guys are.
So it started from Cleveland, came down to Chillicothe Way, and down to Portsmouth. And that's probably where we seen the canal when we're on the Ohio River, when we're taking the riverboat
In
ride.
the mud.
Yeah, they had to clean the silt out, the mud, the yucky stuff out. So they would drain it, and then they would use this to help get rid of the mud and stuff that was in there. And then they would open the river back up and fill it back up again.
Okay.
So, turn this on for you. It actually even works.
Over there.
That's so cool.
Wonderful.
So this is what our actual train station looked like. This is a good aerial of it. It was all gone by the 1960s. The last building standing was this one sitting down here in the corner, the big one there. That was at the actual station where you would go to get on the train. Over time, it was here in the late 1800s, but over time, kids would vandalize it and burn the buildings and stuff. So somewhere by the time the
Can I stand out here?
yes, ma'am, that's what that's for.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
Even our neighborhood over there is exact replicas over there.
Oh, the train's coming.
Stop at one of the signs on the corner of the street and it will stop and pick you up.
Okay.
Did you just recently put the trolley in here?
Yes,
Okay.
it was kind of a test thing because
Yeah.
we used to have trolley cars all the
Okay.
time. And then they did away with it. They use it just on Fridays and Saturdays for people that are coming to visit.
Very tiny. This is getting there 100 years of transportation in Ross County. And people would not actually sit in this one. It's for their supplies.
Or nails or building materials, whatever they needed, home things. People did not ride in this at all, and not even on the front. There's no seat on the front for a rider to ride. They would walk on the side of it. Their oxens or mules or whatever would pull it. Some of the guys would go ahead, and if they came to a spot that was really a bad spot in the road or the pathway, they would cut trees down and line the road with it so that the wagon could actually go over it so they didn't get stuck. This is real. Yes, it traveled from Pennsylvania all the way down to here on the same tracks. One, they say in the barn, the same thing. I can't even imagine carry all their home stuff in that would have same size wheels, and they brought with them the theater. You can have a seat if you're tired.
Yeah.
Stop doing what everybody else
This is a bandwagon. Get off the bandwagon. Yeah.
Yeah. And the pictures in behind there are actual photos with the guys and their wagons. We had one from Kingston, Bainbridge, and Chillicothe. A few years ago.
There's
So it's
musical
been
instruments.
repainted stuff. His
Yeah.
family donated all of his stuff for here,
Wow.
even the old telephone.
So this is all his stuff.
This is all his stuff.
Amazing.
And if you look in the back, you'll see a picture of Chillicothe. This is Main Street, I do believe.
And this is 1912.
It's when we had all brick roads and trolleys.
That's license. 1912.
Very neat.
That's a really cool car.
That is.
When I was about 7 years old, my great grandma, I used to love asking her questions about what she did when she went to school or how she got to school. Questions I should have asked her different questions, like who was your great grandfather, and things like that. But when I was little, she said that in the summertime they walked to school, but in the wintertime when it was too cold out or snow on the ground, her dad would put them in a wagon and take them to school. And I says, well, how did you stay warm? Because I knew it wasn't enclosed or anything. And she said that her dad would take a box and put coals in it from the fireplace, and then they would cover their feet up with grandma's old quilts and stuff, just wrap themselves up. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm about 7 years old, and I'm thinking, okay, I know that if you put hot coals in a box, it's gonna burn.
Right, yeah.
And when I started working here, I did not realize it, but this is what she was talking about.
There's a box.
Yes, you put the hot coals in that. This is where your ashes and stuff, well, no, but it's too old. But this is where your ashes and stuff would be. You take them out and put it in. So, yep.
So interesting.
Yeah, isn't it
It
cool?
is beautiful.
I would love to have one of those because definitely would use it in the wintertime. They would have taken this big long red thing and stuck it down in the canal. They would have put that in to the hose down here.
And this is a
And
fire
then
truck.
They would have had like 6 men on each side, 5 or 6 men on each side, and they would grab that wood and they would pump it like this and pump the water. But there was no water to be pumped. And of course, we have the water buckets again.
Yeah. No water.
And water buckets.
Had to be brick.
So after every home burnt, the rest of them had to be brick. And this is the ladder, right?
That's the ladder. There's some of the fire buildings in the back there.
And this is a hearse. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean,
Isn't it beautiful?
it's wonderful.
For something that is old as it is.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to see this.
I don't know. I don't think those windows, I don't think the shades come down. Never did make it, but he always seemed to make it.
Yeah.
Now, when he was 80 years old, he was a grand marshal in the parade, and he ended up dying of a heart attack during the parade. But 80 years old, and he loved doing it. He was doing what he loved doing.
Do you know what year he was born or?
I do not.
Yeah. I mean, he looks very stylish. So he's like up to date now, it seems like, so. In that picture.
They actually, the meat bought
We're gonna
up
go to the log house.
a block of land, and when they started tearing this down, they found out that it was a block or a wood house, log house.
How cute is this thing?
There's no lighting in
Yeah.
here, just the candles. This is exactly what it would have looked like back in the day. The latest, or the earliest that they found tax records on it was 1827. They believe it was built before that. Now, when it was on the meat property, the paper mill property, and they started tearing it down, this house looked like a normal house. It had drywall on the inside, shutters and shingles on the outside. I mean, it was just, the siding and stuff, it was just like anything that they could use to spin. Then it would go from that to a smaller one to make the thread smaller. So it'd stretch it out. Mom and Dad would share a bed, and then you'd pile up kids, how many ever would fit. Sometimes they'd have like 10 and 12 kids. And then this one has a trundle bed that goes underneath of it. All tick mattresses. Tick mattresses in the summertime would have straw in them. And in the wintertime, they would have feathers or goose down in them to keep you warm. Now, these beds are twine with the knob. And that's where, have you ever heard the saying?
Sleep tight.
Don't let the bed bugs
Yeah,
bite.
well, you got it,
Same
yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
And there's the one, the wheel.
There it is. Yeah.
40 yards, you said.
40 yards is
I
what
never knew that.
I believe it's 40 yards, but
Yeah.
double check that, and then that thing pops out and it's
Yeah.
popcorn.
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see 40 yards fitting on there.
And that was Noel's log house.
These steps are something like what they would have pulled the carriage up to get up, or even the bandstand.
All right, that was the Ross County Heritage Museum, and if you liked it, please subscribe, ring the bell, leave comments, whatever you want to do. It's a wonderful place, and it's worth your time to come and visit. It's beautiful. So, all right, thank you so much for watching. All right, bye-bye.